All right, good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started with our monthly VJF partner meeting. I believe we met last month. I think it's been a couple months, but today I wanted to go over some updates that we've had since the last meeting and the process we have in place for the single employer virtual job fair requests. We have a dashboard that if you weren't on the previous call, we'd like to show you, and along with a couple other updates we have coming in the near future. So since our last meeting, in the dashboard, the event dashboard we've updated some filters so that they're more easily customizable for when you change information such as the available times for employers when they're able to meet, the target population of the events, and the industries. We allowed for the multi-employer events more than one industry to be selected. In the single employer event dashboard, we also added a link to the single employer event guide, and we fixed a issue that was in the virtual job fair. It was with social media. If you were to click a link, it wouldn't open in a new tab, and it would cause the page that you're on to crash. And so a couple minor things, but still issues nonetheless. We can go ahead and show what I mean exactly for some of these. So for the social media tab that was opening in the virtual job fair dashboard, which if you have access with your Illinois WorkNet account, you can log in and select the My Dashboard dropdown and the virtual job fair icon. And then this will populate the screen here. And depending on the LWIA you're in, as a reminder, you're only going to see booths that have a physical address in your LWIA. And that extends to the single and multi-employer events, but we'll get to those in a second here. But to show what I meant about the social media links not working, it was on the booth details page here, where if you select Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and so forth, it would just cause an issue there, but that's been resolved. And the filter customization was mostly for the multi-employer events. And so what we've done since our last meeting is at least the virtual job fairs, the multi-employer, the larger events that Daniel and myself have been a part of, along with many of you on the call. We've gone back and added them in here just as a record. And so, for example, if we were to select this, what I meant when we could update some of the filters, it was the available times, the event may be held, the target population, and the industries that are hiring. So when you select this, you can select more than one industry here. And then I don't know if there was, the single employer dashboard. And that's going to be the kind of the focus of today's call here. So yeah, to access the single employer events dashboard, again, you'll log into WorkNet, select My Dashboard dropdown, the virtual job fair icon, and then over here, you'll select the single employer VJFs. And so something that and here's the dashboard that we have here, and you can select the filter status of the event for all events if the events are open, which means it's kind of a new request that has come in. No one's really followed up with it. If the event's in progress, you're having conversations with the employer, the partners involved, and SIU, Daniel and myself, and then complete and canceled. You can also do a date range search for the events, as well as event follow-up. I know that's something that's come up before is, we've held the event, depending on the turnout, what were the outcomes of that event? And what you can do is you can, for example, if we just select this as an example, down here, you can, here's the post-event follow-up. You can, fill out how many attended the event. And if there is a hire or multiple hires for that event, you can select that number here and the industries as well that the hires resulted in. And so once that information is discovered, you can mark that as complete. Or when you follow up with the employers, you can mark this as that you have followed up and then complete it if you have that information. And so in going back here, one of the other updates I wanted to point out was that we have the Plan Your Single Employer Virtual Job Fair. And so what's going to happen is we have, let's see, I think most on the call probably received a daily email that looks something like this. And so, currently we have, the upcoming virtual job fair events in your area, and then that just lists which events have been scheduled that fall within your LWIA. If there's any booths that have been submitted pending approval, and then just, more as an FYI, just employer booth updates, that are within your LWIA. And so something we're in the process of adding to this daily email is what'll be at the top here, employers requesting assistance with a virtual job fair. And here you'll see, when you do have requests within your LWIA, that there will be a, the name of the employer and the submission date. And if there's more than one, it'll just be a bulleted list here. And so that'll let you know that employers have requested assistance in holding a virtual job fair. And then below this, we have just kind of some instructions on how to access this dashboard that we're on this page here. And so again, you'd log into your account, select the My Dashboard dropdown, click Virtual Job Fair under the Personal Tools, click that drop-down arrow on VJF Event Administration and select Single Employer Virtual Job Fairs. And we also have, we have a note here that says that the employer contact information is also included in that entry, which we'll take a look at in a second. But we also have right below this is a link to the instruction documents for partners, and page 13, so I can go ahead and open this up. We updated our partner instructions, which just has, a lot of the virtual job fair, just an overview of what it is, links and resources for job seekers and employers. If you're considering a virtual job fair, just kind of everything that goes in to the planning of it, including social media templates for posts and promoting the event, as well as flyers. You can customize a flyer. But here we have page. Okay, so then, this just goes through how to access the management side of virtual job fair and what some of those different icons lead to that we've gone over before. But page 13 of this document, right here, we have manage single employer events. This just goes through what we're covering here, and there's a link directly to this document. And then, of course, if you do have any questions, you can reach out to Daniel or myself or info@Illinois workNet, and we're more than happy to follow up with you and meet about it and discuss further. And so, you receive the daily email, you see there's, employer requests in your area. And when you get that email, what we're going to have in place is that if it is, the event status request is open or in progress. And the reason for that is, one, open, so you can see the new ones that are coming in, and two, in progress, just as a reminder that, this event is, kind of in the process of being planned, or, you're reaching out and waiting to hear back from the employer. And so, when you do want to, learn more about the information, the event, you can select, let's say, Myers Motor Transportation, and we can see, the date that, they reached out or when they're wanting to hold their event, and you can, change the date and time using this calendar picker here. The employer will, fill out all this information to the available times that they'd like to have their event. So they're aware that if it's, held with us, it's going to be 30 minutes in length, and just some other information about it, such as, whether or not they need training on Zoom, if they're open to participating in an event with more than one employer, target population of the event, if they accept non-English speaking employees, and if so, would they provide their own translator. But over here, we can see the employer contact info, the name, the email, the phone number, the industries that they're hiring in. And so what we would ask the partners in the different LWIAs is that, in receiving this daily email and seeing the event requests, that, in each area that you follow up with the employer and, kind of talk to them about holding a virtual job fair event, or if when you're talking to them, maybe it doesn't make too much sense as far as, return on investment and time spent on, maybe it's just better to connect that employer to business services if it doesn't seem like, an event would be the most prudent use of time. But in either case, we would ask that, when you do follow up with them, that you add a note in here, and, it's just simple text that you've added a note, you've reached out to the employer, and then, kind of just having a log of that. And if you decide that the employer is not going to hold an event, you can mark this as canceled, and then do click save, because any changes you make won't be preserved unless you click saved. But if you do decide to move forward with an event, and if you do connect them to business services, you can just add a note here. We connected them to such and such services and decided not to hold a virtual job fair event at this time. But if you do decide to move forward with a virtual job fair event, you have two options. You can either host it on your own, your own platform, your own registration. And if that's the case, it doesn't have to be 30 minutes. But we have this link here, Plan Your Single Employer VJF, and it just outlines the different items that are involved in planning a single employer event request. And so we have with assistance and without assistance, these headers here. This is what Daniel or myself will be with assistance. We outline what Illinois WorkNet will do. So we'll do, if you decide to hold the event with us, which would be 30 minutes, we would need 2 weeks notice so we can get everything in place. But if you do decide to hold an event with us, we would create registration, add an entry to the Illinois WorkNet event calendar. We would post on social media, provide Zoom training if necessary to the employers, and we'll troubleshoot and provide technical assistance on Zoom, recording, participant management, adding the recording to YouTube, and post-event follow-up such as the feedback survey to the participants and employers, providing registration, providing a recording of the event as well. And then we have, what we expect the LWIA or the LWIA staff, the partner staff, to assist in, putting on this event. It looks like a couple of these things we would kind of maybe need to be removed, since they'd already have an employer booth and it would already be approved in order for them to request an event. But you would want to ensure that the employer has PowerPoint slides for the event and that they're provided to Daniel or myself so that we can screen share. And then during the event, we would ask that our partners provide opening and closing remarks, facilitate questions that are asked in the Zoom chat, and share any information about local resources and services available to attendees, work support services, American job centers, and so forth. And then, that would be 30 minutes. We would need 2 weeks notice. But if you decide to hold it on your own, then this column here, this just lists out kind of a consolidated version of this, that you need to create registration, to create the event calendar, promote on social media, add it to the WorkNet calendar, provide a platform in which to host and facilitate the event, ensuring the employer has presentation materials, providing technical assistance, adding a recording, and doing the post-event follow-up. And so this page, again, just kind of outlines, the roles and expectations of Daniel and myself if we're involved, or what you would be doing by undertaking holding the event on your own. And again, we do have a link to this page from here. This is the Plan Your Single Employer Virtual Job Fair event. And I'm just taking a look at my notes here. So I think that's mostly all that I have to kind of go over. I mean, to kind of condense and summarize what I've just gone over. We've continuing to make updates to this dashboard here. Soon we will have an updated daily email that'll show the employer requests that are open or in progress, and we expect our partners throughout the state to follow. And I know that some of you on this call are, but for at least these single employer requests, there's the expectation that you come in here, just reach out to the employer, see what they have in mind, and if you do decide to move forward with a virtual job fair event for that employer, you can reach out to Dan or myself, and we can iron out the details and figure out the best time for that. Or if you don't, or if it doesn't make sense to hold a virtual job fair event, that we make a record of it in here. But in either case, we do ask that there's engagement of this dashboard, and kind of adding notes and adding that way we know that the employer is being followed up with, and one way or another that SIU and our partners are providing resources and assistance to these employers. And so with that, I will open up to see if there's any questions. I do see there's a couple of notes in the chat here. Can we send handouts to us after this meeting? Yeah, we're recording this meeting now. And what we'll do is before the end of the day, we will, let's see, this is the Virtual Job Fair Partner Guide, which under this page here, the partner training materials and videos, and this is the case for past monthly sessions too. And this is an issue we're working to fix at the moment, but we'll add an entry here for today's session, and it'll include the recording to the video and some of the pages we talked about, such as those instructions, and just kind of have a bulleted list of what all was covered during this event. And so with that, again, I'll open up to any questions. Daniel, feel free to chime in to see if there's anything I've missed or anything you'd like to add.
Nothing on my front, at least as of yet. Thank you for that, David. And of course, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. David, I think what might be useful for the partners on the line is that updated instructions for partners that you referenced earlier. I don't know if there's a link you can throw in the chat for them, or if you can direct them to that spot so they can see that.
Yeah, thanks for that, Daniel. I will add this here. So that's a link to the instructions in the chat, but I do see a question. Could you share how you added the virtual job fair to my dashboard? Some are not seeing it there, but only on the home page. Yeah, so let's see. If you do not see this when you're logged into your account, you don't see this virtual job fair icon. That means that your account does not have access to this kind of management side of the tool for employer booths and the events and the event requests. So in that case, send an email to Daniel and myself, and we'll be sure that we'll have to grant you access. But once you do have access, what will happen is that you'll need to log out and log back into your account. But that's how you get to the management side of things. Otherwise, you're really only going to see the public side of things for the virtual job fair, which is this page, the employer booths and the calendar. But yeah, if you do not have access to this, if you don't see this here, that means you don't have access. So yeah, just send a message to, thanks Daniel for adding our emails to the chat there. And something I also want to point out, how that came up on a previous call was, how do the requests get into here, into this dashboard. And so okay, so once the employer, they'll go through the motions of creating a booth. And once they complete this form and submit it, then that means it has to go through the review and approval process. And so once they submit the booth, a record will be created in here under, let's see, needs reviewed. And so we can see, here this booth was submitted, looks like yesterday. And so we'll click the blue icon, make sure all the information looks okay, is accurate. And once that's the case, we can click approved and then save and submit the employer booth. And so once that booth's approved, the employer is then notified via email that that their booth has been accepted. And from there, they can log in and come back in and manage this. I'm not sure why this is taking so long. They can come back in and manage their employer booth if they want to, add more links or add documents to their booth page. If they want to, customize it in any way. Bear with me one moment, folks. I got locked out. Okay, so once their booth is approved, they can come back in here, click this blue button again. It's just that form they'll see. They can add it that way. But to request assistance with a virtual job fair, they'll select this green icon, manage job fairs, and then add virtual job fair. And so if they wanted to add it on their own, they could just add, the date and a link to the event itself. And then if they wanted to add a recording, they can add it to this archived job fair URL here. But if they request assistance, they click this first button here. And then they'll fill out the contact information or this informational form. They'll need to be logged into their account. So some of this information will populate, like the name and contact info. And then we have the questions that we were seeing on the management side of things. Do they need training in Zoom? Date range for when you'd like to hold your event, dates and times or times that you're available to hold this session, if you'd like to participate in a live event, target population, and then those questions about accepting non-English speaking employees, and if they'll provide their own translator, if so. And once they submit that, they'll see a note that a member of the workNet team will reach out to you. And once that contact information is submitted, it will then appear here with a request status is open, which I think at the moment we don't have any. So we have, so that's how, employer event requested, how that'll show up in here. The employer initiates it, through the virtual job fair system.
I did see a question here too that I got, David, directly from Deb. She asks, could you remind us what promotion, if any, your organization provides for a single employer event? Like who do you promote to, past attendees, how often, deadline? I can take a stab at that one, David. Feel free to fill in any information that I'm missing there. But Deb, as far as promotion is concerned, if we are tied into the event directly, so like if you requested a single employer event with assistance, obviously using us, that's part of the overall package, if you will, that we provide. So, social media posts will be scheduled about 7 to 10 days before the event takes place. Ideally, we'll have a post going out every single day, just reminding folks who are followers on our social media pages to obviously register for the event. So that's as far as who we are promoting to. It would be followers for our social media accounts. And then if any of partner organizations pick up our posts as well and share them as well, obviously that's going to expand our reach, but we don't include past attendees or anything like that in any sort of marketing promotional scheme that we do overall. Again, how often? 7 to 10 days leading up to the event. Ideally, every single day a post will go out. Deadline, again, we'll need at least that 7-day lead time, if you will, to be able to properly market the event. Otherwise, obviously, we're probably going to see a decline in the amount of registrants that we see. So at least 7 days advance notice for social media posts. And one thing that I do want to mention as well is if you do decide to hold the event on your own without assistance, you can still request that we add your event to our VJF event calendar. David, I don't know, maybe you can pull that up for the folks real quick just so they can see where that is and how to do so.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's 2 ways you can go about it. If you have my email, you can reach out to me and I'd be more than happy to add your event to the calendar. But David's going to show you how to access this and add your own event as well. Pretty simple.
Yeah, so we have the main WorkNet event calendar on the homepage, but it's kind of the same tool. This is the event calendar, but we have a filter on this page specifically to events that are tagged as a virtual job fair. And so, from this page, you can click add event button, or from the WorkNet homepage, you can add an event. If you're familiar with the WorkNet calendar, it's, you're doing just one more thing in adding the event. So when you go to add the event, you give it the necessary information, the event title, the event type, the date and time, the location. In this case, if it's virtual online event, you'll just add the link here. You can provide a description. If there's any flyers or promoting the event, you can add that here. You can enter point of contact information if there's any questions. You can select the audience. And then the only other thing to add so that it shows up on the virtual job fair calendar is under series. And you can either type or use the drop down here. You would select virtual job fair and then add that event. And once it's approved, which I think takes maybe 2 or 3 business days, unless you're the one who has approval access. Once that is approved, let me refresh this. It will then show up, so long as that virtual job fair is checked in that series tag, it'll show up in this calendar here. And so, for example, we have, let me just click this here. We can see series virtual job fair, and that's the part that makes it show up in here. And it'll still show up in the main WorkNet event calendar, but that's how you can add the event to this calendar here. And with social media, I do also want to add, depending on the employer, if it's a mom and pop store or if it's Amazon, those are 2 very different businesses, and there's a lot in between. Some of the more recognizable names tend to get more attendees, but in either case, we do ask that the partners and the employer, if possible, if they have the means, also kind of get the word out on social media, because that'll really drive up the numbers. There's been events in the past where despite our social media efforts, the attendance has been very few, if any has showed up. So we do ask that whether or not there is you ask for assistance in holding the single employer event with us, we just encourage you to also promote the event through through the means that you have at your disposal. Are there any other questions? Well, if not, I think we can go ahead and wind down early. What we will do after this event is we will get this uploaded to YouTube, and we will add it to this page here, the recording, some of the pages that we talked about, and kind of add a bulleted list here. But before the end of the day, we'll definitely have this page updated. And if you're not familiar with how to access the virtual job fair guide, you can on workNet, you can select partners, and then on the partner homepage, you can click this VJF icon under Global Partner Tools, and that'll take you to this page. Here we just have again questions. If you don't see the virtual job fair icon under Personal Tools and you need access to it, you can send an email to info@, but to make it quicker, you can just send an email to Daniel and myself. We'll make sure you have access so you can get into the system. And yeah, this virtual job fair guide also has information on planning your virtual job fair event, which we looked at, the with and without assistance page, and then other pages, articles, where we're going to add the recording, the partner training materials and videos, a full list of resources, open up here a second, and then partner tool updates, which was the page we started on, just showing updates through the tool, history of that. And then down below, we just have upcoming and past monthly sessions that we're holding here. But the full list of resources page has a ton of information and articles, resources, I should say, guidance from FAQs to introductory presentations and recordings for job seekers, employers, and partners, instructions for employers and partners, quick start guides. We've held, see, here's some of the past legislative events we've had, some summary documents and reporting, and virtual job fair planning. Kind of have a timeline, checklist sheet, templates for employers, the list of questions that we have in case there are very few, if any, in the chats, and then custom and outreach flyers and social media posts that you can use. And then down below, we provide a weekly report to DCEO and other state agencies that just tracks the number of our virtual job fair numbers from employer booths, registrations, attendees, and so forth, and some other information that you can access here just by clicking on the link there. But that's a reminder of the full list of resources page. But with that, if there are any questions, again, please feel free to reach out to Daniel and myself. We're more than happy to follow up with you and meet with you, or if you'd like to talk about the dashboards further, we're more than happy to get on a call and hash that out. And Daniel, is there anything else that you'd add at this time?
I don't believe so. Thank you, David. And of course, thank you to all the partners who joined us here today. Hopefully this helped clear up a few of the confusing issues that I think folks have had using that dashboard. Again, if you're not seeing that VJF icon in my dashboard that David showed you, feel free to reach out to one of us and we'll make sure to grant you access.
Thank you, Daniel. And with that, looks like you have 20 or so minutes back from your Friday morning. So we're going to close out. Thank you again for everyone for joining us, and hope you have a great weekend. Thanks, everybody.